Most people believe dogs respond to what we do consciously. A command, a gesture, a tone of voice, something visible, something intentional. But long before a dog reacts to any of those things, something else has already happened. They have already noticed the shift. Not because you announced it, not because you meant to communicate anything, but because dogs are constantly reading patterns humans don't even realize they are producing. Tiny adjustments in breathing, changes in movement that happen before action, the invisible tension carried inside stillness, the way attention changes shape before behavior changes. Most humans never notice these signals in themselves, yet dogs do, and sometimes they respond to them before we even understand what we are feeling. That's why a dog can become alert before you speak, why they sometimes move closer before sadness fully reaches your awareness, why they quietly leave a room before conflict even begins. To a dog, communication is not built from words. It begins beneath them. They read what humans ignore. Humans are trained to focus on explicit communication. We trust language because language feels measurable, clear, intentional. If something matters, we expect it to be said directly. Dogs evolved in a completely different perceptual world. For them, survival never depended on words. It depended on detecting changes before they became obvious. A slight hesitation, a shift in rhythm, the difference between relaxed movement and controlled movement. The subtle tension that appears in a body before conscious action occurs. This is why dogs often seem strangely intuitive. Not because they possess mystical abilities, but because they are constantly processing layers of information humans filter out. When you enter a room carrying stress, your dog may notice before you say a single thing. Not through magic, through pattern recognition. Your walking speed changes slightly. Your breathing loses fluidity. Your movements become less synchronized. Even silence changes shape when a human is emotionally unsettled. To another person, these details may remain invisible. To a dog, they are loud. Dogs watch before they react. One of the biggest misunderstandings humans have about dogs is believing reaction begins at the moment behavior becomes visible. But for a dog, observation starts far earlier. Before your hand reaches for the leash, they may already know you are preparing to leave. Before you stand up from the couch, they may already shift their body in anticipation. Before you consciously direct attention toward them, they often sense the change. This happens because dogs do not simply react to isolated actions. They learn entire behavioral sequences. Humans think in moments. Dogs think in patterns. A dog notices the tiny chain that precedes an event, the glance toward the door, the altered posture, the unconscious preparation movement, the pause before motion. Eventually, they stop waiting for the obvious action. They begin responding to the invisible beginning of it. That's why dogs sometimes appear to predict the future. In reality, they are noticing the earliest stages of behaviors humans themselves barely recognize. Emotional states change human movement. Humans often believe emotions exist internally, something hidden inside the mind, private, invisible, but emotions constantly reshape the body, and dogs are highly sensitive to those changes. Fear changes pacing. Stress changes muscle tension. Sadness slows movement. Frustration sharpens gestures. Anxiety interrupts rhythm. Even when humans attempt to hide emotions socially, the body usually continues expressing them unconsciously. Dogs evolved around movement analysis. Their survival depended on reading intention through physical patterns. A predator preparing to attack moves differently from one that is calm. A nervous animal occupies space differently from a relaxed one. Dogs apply this same perceptual system to humans. That's why many dogs become restless around emotional conflict even when nobody is shouting. The atmosphere has already changed physically. Breathing shortens. Bodies become rigid. Micro-movements lose softness. Attention becomes fragmented. Humans may still be pretending everything is normal, but the dog is already responding to the reality underneath it. Attention has a physical presence. Humans usually think of attention as something mental, an invisible focus happening privately inside the brain. However, attention changes the body, and dogs notice the direction of the eyes, the angle of the shoulders, the subtle orientation of the torso, the way energy shifts toward or away from something. Dogs constantly monitor these details. This is why a dog sometimes looks at you the exact moment you begin thinking about them. Not because they read thoughts, but because thought often changes posture before humans realize it. Your body slightly reorients. Your focus sharpens. Tiny muscular adjustments occur. To another human, these signals are too subtle to consciously process. To a dog, they are part of the normal informational environment. Dogs live inside a world of directional awareness. They are always measuring where attention exists. Even stillness contains information. Why dogs sometimes avoid certain people. Humans often judge trustworthiness through language. A polite voice, a smile, friendly behavior. Dogs rely more heavily on coherence. Whether the body matches the emotional state, whether movement feels predictable, whether tension and behavior align naturally. This is one reason dogs occasionally dislike someone humans consider perfectly pleasant. A person may speak gently while carrying unstable physical tension. Their gestures may appear socially friendly while their body communicates discomfort, agitation, or unpredictability. Dogs notice contradictions humans often ignore. To a dog, emotional inconsistency can feel unsettling because dogs depend heavily on reliable pattern recognition. When signals conflict, uncertainty increases. This does not mean dogs are supernatural judges of morality, but it does mean they are highly responsive to behavioral coherence. Sometimes they trust people humans overlook. Sometimes they distrust people humans admire. Not because dogs understand human social status, but because they respond directly to observable nervous system patterns. Dogs learn the emotional geography of a home. Over time, dogs begin mapping emotional rhythms inside human environments. They learn which rooms feel calm, which voices usually predict stress, which movements precede conflict, which silences carry heaviness. A dog living with humans for years develops an incredibly detailed awareness of household patterns. This is why dogs sometimes reposition themselves before arguments begin, why they approach one person quietly during difficult periods, why they disappear when emotional intensity rises. They are not interpreting human life intellectually. They are responding to recurring emotional landscapes. Humans often underestimate how predictable their own patterns become. The same emotional states create the same movement patterns. The same tensions produce the same atmospheres. The same anxieties subtly reshape behavior in recognizable ways. Dogs notice repetition extremely well. And once a pattern becomes familiar, they begin responding before the full event unfolds. Listening. Your dog is not only listening to what you say, they are listening to patterns you never intended to reveal. The invisible hesitation before movement, the emotional weight hidden inside posture, the subtle shift in attention that changes the atmosphere of a room, the tension carried silently through ordinary moments. Most of human communication exists beneath conscious awareness. Dogs live inside that layer constantly. And perhaps that is part of why dogs sometimes feel emotionally close in ways humans struggle to explain. They are not simply reacting to our actions. They are responding to the hidden rhythms underneath them, the parts of us that speak long before words ever arrive.